This is from Caitlin Clark herself. I'd hope to share a better update, but I will not be returning to play the season. I spent hours in the gym every day with the singular goal of getting back out there. Disappointed isn't a big enough word to describe how I'm feeling. I want to thank everyone who has had my back through all this uncertainty. This has been incredibly frustrating, but even in the bad, there is good. And the way the fans continue to show up for me and for the Fever brought me so much joy and important perspective. I'm so proud of how this team has only gotten stronger through adversity this year. Now it's time to close out the season and claim our spot in
The WNBA has taken a hard hit. Without Caitlin Clark, everything seems to be falling apart. Ratings are dropping fast, the league's credibility is wavering, and ticket prices are sinking just as quickly as the hopes of every team except the Indiana Fever.
So it's official. The most heartbreaking news for Indiana Fever fans that could come of the season, but Caitlin Clark will not be returning to the 2025 WNBA season. She took the liberty of posting it herself because there were many people asking to hear from Caitlin Clark, to hear how she felt about the entire situation, because a lot of people felt like it was the front office that was kind of making
Caitlin Clark's injury, which ended her entire season, has suddenly stripped the league's historic growth slogan of all meaning, as if it were just a line scribbled on a coffee-stained napkin by an exhausted marketing intern. Now, the situation is such that WNBA owners are not just uneasy, but in open, full-blown panic.
The WNBA is being largely ignored by the media, largely ignored by sports media, not considered a real professional league, to the point where people didn't even know it existed until CC22. That's just a fact. You can't believe how many times I have people come in the chat and say, I didn't even know that there was a professional women's basketball league until Caitlin. Yeah, it's the fact.
You're enjoying this, so make sure to subscribe. The Queen's journey for this season has come to an end, and now every league executive is scrambling to contain the damage. After months of uncertainty, misleading injury updates, and no clear timeline, Clark finally made the announcement that shook everyone. I will not be returning to the court this season.
And Clark saying that she tried to get back on the floor. It appears that she just ran out of time, not able to get enough confidence back in her body as the season wraps up and the playoffs are likely about to begin for Indiana. I mean, it's a gut punch that basically encompasses an entire season of them. The Fever have lost so many players to injury, but obviously none bigger than Clark. And there was such a weight for this second season after her magnificent rookie season. And then, you know, the anticipation of her possibly coming back only for
The Fever can now drop the act of pretending Clark might return. There's no schedule, no set timeline. All that's left is a huge void where the league's brightest star once shined. And this panic is spreading through corporate boardrooms like a wildfire.
When she was supposed to return versus the Minnesota Lynx, supposedly, and then the Scott Agneses and all them start talking about she suffered a bone bruise in Phoenix, I told y'all it was a wrap. It was done. It was done. They knew it. And I believe they've known far longer. They have known. They've kept us fans in the dark. And it sucks. It absolutely sucks. Man, I was so looking forward to watching Caitlin Clark play this season. Now we have to wait an entire offseason, and we don't even know what's going to happen. There might be a lockout. There might not even be a 2026 season, guys.
Let's take a look at the numbers. When Caitlin Clark was fully fit and dominating the court, Indiana Fever games were averaging 1.26 million viewers. But the moment she suffered that groin injury on July 15th, national TV viewership plunged straight down to 847,000. That's a 53% drop, a brutal blow that gave the league a harsh reality check. And here's the striking part. This happened when people still had hope she might return. But now, with it confirmed that she won't be playing this season, the catastrophic collapse in viewership is only just beginning.
This has been a huge disaster as far as public perception for the WNBA. An entirely new group of people started tuning in to this league for one player and one player only. In fact, so many new people tuned into this league, the viewership for the Caitlin Clark games largely surpassed anything else going on in the WNBA. I would argue that the amount of Caitlin Clark fans are at least 3x the amount of WNBA.
Without Clark, The WNBA looks less like a league and more like a support group where former athletes are left wondering why no one cares about their games. The league tried hard to prove it could keep running in her absence, but the result was a complete failure. Viewership for games without Clark on NBA TV dropped by 40%. Those games average 549,000 viewers, which may sound decent, but it's still 37% less than what Clark alone brings in. The gap between Clark's games and everyone else's is so obvious it almost feels laughable. The real issue isn't just one player being sidelined, it's the fact that the very foundation of the league's marketing is collapsing before their eyes.
Team, because she knows just how much she means to everybody that buys those tickets. I mean, I would say at least like 90 to maybe not 95, but like 90% of the people in arenas were there to see Caitlin Clark, which of course they became fans of the Fever afterwards, but you know, Caitlin Clark is the draw. And then here's this one where she's actually in her street clothes. And yeah, these are, you know, pretty heartfelt photos, her in the huddle with her teammates. But I gotta say, this was quite a year. I mean, there came a certain point where people, including myself, were just like, what is actually going on? I think that it's time. It was definitely time to tell.
Commissioner Kathy Engelbert can call her America's most popular player as many times as she wants, but that title comes with a heavy responsibility. When the success of an entire league depends on the health of a single player, every injury becomes a serious crisis. The WNBA spent decades trying to build a stable and sustainable product, and then Clark came along and single-handedly created the difference between relevance and irrelevance for the league. Now, imagine the viewership situation for the WNBA playoff finals. Since Caitlin Clark won't be participating, the Indiana Fever, currently in 8th place with a 21-20 record, barely holding onto a playoff spot, will most likely not make it to the finals without Clark for the entire season. The team that was once a championship contender is now fighting for its playoff survival without their floor general, marketing powerhouse, and ticket-selling superstar.
Here, Indiana Fever will be either a first-round exit or may not make the playoffs. I really believe that Mystics game is a trap game. Also, I don't know if they have all the pieces anymore now with Chloe Bibby out for the rest of the season, another random player. But we drafted her. We kind of know her, but still, she wasn't part of the team for the majority of the season. And then Aerial Powers and Odyssey Sims and Shea Petty. Who are these people? You know what I'm saying? The Indiana Fever are no longer the Indiana Fever.
Commissioner Kathy Engelbert can call her America's most popular player as many times as she wants, but that title comes with a heavy responsibility. When the success of an entire league depends on the health of a single player, every injury becomes a serious crisis. The WNBA spent decades trying to build a stable and sustainable product, and then Clark came along and single-handedly created the difference between relevance and irrelevance for the league. Now, imagine the viewership situation for the WNBA playoff finals. Since Caitlin Clark won't be participating, the Indiana Fever, currently in 8th place with a 21-20 record, barely holding onto a playoff spot, will most likely not make it to the finals without Clark for the entire season. The team that was once a championship contender is now fighting for its playoff survival without their floor general, marketing powerhouse, and ticket-selling superstar.
NBA ratings worst nightmare just came true because it was just announced that Caitlin Clark will be out for the rest of the season. She's only played 13 games this season, and her most recent injury, which happened back in July, was a groin injury. The craziest part about all of this has been the reporting around her injury. The team has never given her a timetable for return, and literally up until today, the team had been reporting that she was still trying to get back on the court this season. The Fever only have 3 regular season games left in the season before playoffs. Some fans were even speculating that they've just been stringing fans along the whole time because they know that ratings and attendance would drop once they announced that she's out, which is also so ironic that they announced it the day that football season starts.
Let's be honest. What happened during Clark's injury was plain for everyone to see. The league tried to stir up drama with other storylines, but fans simply weren't interested. Angel Reese's games without Clark drew smaller crowds than a typical high school match. The Chicago Sky, who had built their entire season around being Clark's rival, suddenly found themselves playing in front of only 6,000 fans, compared to the 20,000 they would attract whenever facing the Fever. In June, when Clark got injured, Ticket prices plummeted from $86 to just $25 within 48 hours. That wasn't a minor dip, it was a total market collapse. The desperation during her absence was clear. Teams had moved games to larger arenas in anticipation of Clark's participation, but once she couldn't play, there was no way to move them back. The Washington Mystics even shifted a game to Baltimore to accommodate Clark's fanbase, only to see ticket prices crash from $41 down to $14 when she was ruled out. According to ESPN's Power Index, their chances of making the playoffs sit at 97.4%. But that prediction only holds if they can maintain their current momentum without their best player, their key scoring weapon, and their biggest crowd puller.
This season has been a complete train wreck. This season's been a complete disaster. We got the GOAT, who only played 13 games, missed basically the whole season. Dewana Bonner scammed us. Natasha Howard basically scammed us. Stephanie White's a liar. Amber Cox is a liar. Kelly Krauskopf's a liar. Now we have to go a whole offseason with the front office we don't trust, we don't believe in, we can't believe anything they say, and we don't know what's really going to happen with Caitlin Clark's health.
The impact of Clark's announcement isn't just news, it's a shockwave that has rattled the entire landscape. Fans who had bought tickets months in advance, planned trips, and tuned in religiously are now repeating the one phrase the league feared most: no Clark, no us. The casual viewers who first discovered women's basketball through Clark's college dominance are slowly disappearing. Sponsors who jumped aboard the Clark hype train are now second-guessing their investments. TV networks that built their entire programming schedule around Fever games are staring at the harsh reality. Without Clark, the WNBA finals could turn into a colossal disaster. Those same networks that once dreamed of record-breaking playoff ratings now know the truth. Casual fans don't care about Liberty versus Lynx. For them, the real attraction was just one name: Caitlin Clark. Do you want me to rewrite this in an even darker, more dramatic media apocalypse tone, the way headlines frame big collapses?
Caitlin Clark was hurt after that Liberty game. That's when they should have said, we need to wait this out until the All-Star break. But instead, they worried about their ticket sales, TV ratings, and all this stuff. So they actually had Caitlin Clark come back a couple weeks earlier than expected, and I think that's the real reason why she's out. They mismanaged this entire season. I don't respect the GM. I don't respect the president anymore. I really don't respect the coach. They all lied on false pretense. That's all they did. They kept lying and lying and kept stringing Caitlin Clark like a carrot on the string. And all these fans kept going to the games hoping that she'll come back.